I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us here on Closing Arguments. And those of you who watch the show every night know we've been waiting for a new trial to begin after Thanksgiving. It was going to be the trial of Alec Murdaugh, his next criminal trial. He had trials like all over the map down there in the low country of South Carolina. But today he went inside a courtroom, and it was supposed to be a hearing, getting things ready. It turned into a plea agreement, a plea hearing where he's admitting to a certain extent his guilt in a whole series of cases and getting a deal in exchange. So tonight, let's take you back to the low country inside the courtroom so you can hear Alec Murdaugh and Judge Newman talk about and go through this whole plea agreement. And take a listen to Alec Murdaugh and think about, you know, is he getting a deal here? And I keep getting the feeling he's got something up his sleeve. Maybe he doesn't, but let's watch.
Mr. Murdaugh, aside from the count or the indictment that you are pleading guilty on the Alford, aside from that particular one, do you disagree with any of the facts stated by Mr. Waters?
I agree that I wrongly took all of that money, Your Honor, and did all of those crimes. I disagree with some of the narrative, but not the essential elements of the facts of the crimes.
And do you believe that if you were to proceed with a jury trial on these charges that you would be found guilty?
I am guilty, and yes, sir, I believe that I would be found guilty.
All right. Mr. Harpootlian, Mr. Griffin?
Nothing, Your Honor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Anything else with regard to the guilty pleas that you'd like to say today, Mr. Murdaugh?
No, sir, other than I'm glad to finally be given the opportunity to plead guilty. I am happy to be pleading guilty to these charges for a number of reasons.
All right, thank you.
He's happy. Actually, he does look a little happier than he did during his trial. Let's take a listen now to his attorneys outside the courthouse after everything that happened inside.
Both Jim and I believe today was a big step in resolving Alec Murdaugh's issues. As Jim can tell you in more detail, since he admitted his financial crimes in September of 21, is that right?
Exactly.
He's been wanting to plead guilty to these or resolve them since then. So this is a big step. And we'll have, after the sentencing, we'll have more comments, but we have just obviously very brief comments today. Jim?
Yeah, I mean, this was, as Alex said in court, you know, he'd been wanting to plead guilty. Really, the only impediment was, you know, would we have a plea terms that would give him an opportunity to get out of prison? And today we've got those terms, and you know, he's prepared to serve a long time. As he said to me as we were going into the courtroom, you know, he feels very comfortable doing prison time for crimes that he did, and he knew that he was going to prison. He does not feel comfortable doing prison time for the murders of his wife and son, for which he did not do, and we still are singularly focused on exonerating him for those convictions, and we'll be having hearings, hopefully, you know, probably the first of the year, but we don't know for sure. He said in federal court when he did a plea to similar charges that, you know, he wanted closure for the victims, and you know, he, believe it or not, you know, he cares for these victims, and he feels badly about it. And he was, you know, and people want to diminish this, but he was in the throes of an opioid addiction, and it, you know, it had taken over his life, and so, you know, he's opioid free, he's drug free, and he feels awful about his conduct.
Well, does he really feel awful? Does he feel bad for the victims? I don't know. Let's bring in our think tank. Let's talk about this tonight. Joining us in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney Eklund Mercy. Also with us in New York City, founder of Villalona Law and former senior homicide prosecutor Bernardo Villalona, and in Columbia, South Carolina, partner at Bland Richter LLP, host of the very popular Cup of Justice podcast, and the attorney representing Murdaugh's victims, the Satterfield family. Eric Bland is with us. Eric, let me begin with you. Is that a true statement? That do you believe, and do your clients believe, that he feels bad about what he did?
Look, I don't know whether I can get inside his head and confirm that, but what I can tell you is what Jim Griffin just said at the microphone was categorically false. He did not, in September 21, acknowledge the responsibility and guilt. In fact, when we civilly sued him 5 months later, Jim Griffin answered the complaint and denied the allegations in the Satterfield case that he had stolen the money. So, this is just trying to rewrite history. Look, Vinny, justice is never perfect. It's not pretty sometimes. You don't want to let perfect be the enemy of good. This is a good resolution because it gives the victims a chance to finally begin to heal. Alex has tormented and victimized these financial crime victims for the better part of 2 years. Don't forget, from the Satterfields, which is the case that he really pled guilty on today because it was coming to trial in a week and a half. He tried to draft them in as party defendants in the Nautilus insurance case in federal court. He gave them a confession of judgment in May of 2022 and then came right back this year and tried to vacate that confession of judgment, then lost in the trial court on that and then appealed it. So, yes, we have to be suspect. Harpootlian are trying to play chess. I think they're playing checkers, but I think they're trying to play chess and they're trying to game. The fact is that Alex Murdaugh is never going to get out of prison. Remember, he's staring down the barrel of a federal court sentence once that pre-sentence report comes back from the September 20th plea of guilt. He's got 27 years on this and serving 85% of his time. No appeals, no chance of parole. He's 54 years old. The odds are serving about 21 years in state prison, maximum prison. Most people don't live over 72 years old. So if he does live past that 72, he's going to have to go back to federal court. Remember, the murder charge is still a double conviction. That could be reversed, but don't forget, he also has the roadside shooting felony charge still in front of him, and there's potential drug conspiracy charges coming down the pike for people who are cooperating. So I think Jim is Pollyanna thinking that he's going to have a chance to get out, but it is what it is.
So, Bernardo Villalona, do you think a prosecutor should feel good about wrapping up these financial crimes, despite the fact that they are being served concurrently with whatever other time he is serving in other cases?
Yes, you got to think Alex Murdaugh only has one life to live. So either way, just like Eric said, well, what Eric wanted to say is that the man's going to die in jail. So in terms of the prosecution perspective, the prosecution was able to get justice for these victims with this plea. They have Alex Murdaugh acknowledging his guilt in these financial crimes. And this is what those victims wanted, which was closure and accountability. In terms of getting money back, I highly doubt it that they'll be reimbursed for all the money that they lost. So I don't think that's going to happen. But I think just tying up all these cases for the prosecution, it's a good feeling and a good outcome. And also remember, even if the homicide convictions are reversed, what's not going to be affected is the sentence in this case. So either way, he'll be serving a state sentence.
Ekla Mercy, let's say everything, all the cards fall his way, and he ends up walking out of the prison at age 76. Do you think he could actually walk out of prison at the age of 76? Have you ever seen someone walk out of prison at the age of 76?
The difference is it's all subjective, and we have Alex Murdaugh, who is part of a legal dynasty. He's not a regular defendant. Just off of this plea alone tells you that you are different. You are dealing with just a different animal. We have an attorney who has nothing to lose. and who has assets and money and friends who are willing and able to fight this until the day he dies. So at this point, it's about the judge as well as the prosecutors really taking into account judicial economy. How much money are they trying to spend? And I think that that's what Murdaugh is playing. He's like, if you're going to prosecute me, then prosecute me. We can have a trial that lasts weeks. With regards to financial crimes, have you seen the discovery for those? It's boxes of boxes of boxes. And then just the arguments about attorney-client privilege. The privilege arguments alone may last weeks and weeks and weeks. So essentially the state is saving money, lots of money, and we do get closure. But I think Murdaugh is actually playing the game.
So how did all this turn out, Eric? Because in criminal cases, a lot of times the judge can order restitution. A lot of times there's parallel civil suits that are taking place. So what is the status of his victims? Have any of them who he ripped off gotten their money back, whether it's law partners or clients or your clients? Have they been able to be made somewhat whole and being able to recover the money that he stole?
Yeah. My clients have recovered over $7.5 million. So they lost $4.3 million, of which if the attorney's fees were paid, they would have ended up with $2.9 million. Now they've netted over $4.5 million. So in theory, my clients have been made whole. I know that Arthur Badger has received his $1.3 million. I've represented the Plea sisters, and we have recovered well over now $1 million for them. I know that the Pickneys have recovered by Justin Bamberg. And I was in a deposition today, Vinny, all day with the receiver, the state court appointed receiver that have recovered $1.8 million. And I was shocked to learn less than 9 victims have applied for the victim compensation fund of that $1.8 million that has been marshaled in state court. So that tells me that the law firm has made a lot of people whole that were victims of Alex's fraud. I've also recovered for victims of Alex where he blew their statute of limitations and didn't file their cases on time. So the large majority of victims in this case are the law firm that has paid out a lot of money and Palmetto State Bank that has paid out a lot of money. So in answer to your question, the victims have received money from other law firms, from insurance companies, from banks, not necessarily from Alex. There's $1.8 million that Alex lost because it was commandeered by the receivers. But from a monetary standpoint, victims have been compensated. From a justice standpoint, this is a white-collar crime, Vinny, and 27 years is a lot of time for a white-collar crime. I thought it should be more, but I'm not unhappy because Judge Newman was pressing the state on all of these trials, and as my colleague just said, the savings is going to be enormous because each county where all of these financial crime cases were going to be tried, there were 6 different counties. They have to pay for these trials. And you saw how much money was spent in Walterboro on security, on court personnel, on extra bailiffs. And now they're going to sequester the jury in this case. So there's a tremendous savings. I believe justice was done. Compromise happens all the time. You did it when you were a prosecutor. It gives finality to the victims. It gives a chance for Creighton Wooders, who's a great lawyer, to start focusing on other matters that he wants to focus on.